I have this crystal clear memory from childhood. The family dinner table. My plight, still with a formidable-looking pile of broccoli and mashed potatoes. And my dad, laying down the law with that classic line, "You're not leaving this table until you clean your plate." Outside, the cool evening air was calling. My friends were probably starting a game, but none of that mattered. The only goal was an empty plate. Fullness wasn't just a suggestion. It was a requirement. For years, that was the rule I lived by. You eat until you're full. You eat until it's gone. It's the responsible, proper thing to do. But what if that entire time our parents, with the best of intentions, were teaching us a fundamental misunderstanding of how our bodies actually work? Because half a world away in Okinawa, Japan, children were being taught the exact opposite. They were learning a quiet principle, a kind of internal wisdom that has nothing to do with an empty plate. It's the reason they routinely live to be 100 years old, full of energy. And it all comes down to the moment they decide to put their chopsticks down. A moment that happens long before they ever feel full. Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. We're taking a deep dive today into something that, well, it really flips everything we thought we knew about eating. Right on its head. This quiet wisdom is from halfway across the world, Okinawa specifically. And it influences everything, from what's on our dinner plates or maybe what's left on them, right up to our actual lifespan. We're talking about this Okinawan principle. It's called Hara Hachi Bu.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating here is how this practice, it sounds so simple, doesn't it? Stopping before you're completely full. But it has these incredibly profound implications. It's not just like a fleeting feeling in your stomach. It connects directly, right down to the deepest, most intricate cellular mechanisms inside us. And it holds these surprising keys, honestly, keys to unlocking, well, longevity and just sustained health.
Right, and that's what we're going to explore today. How does this ancient wisdom, this Hara Hachi Bu, stack up against, modern science? We'll journey from like the complex dance of hormones in our gut, all the way to the very genes that might dictate not just how long we live, but how well we live. We'll look at the physiological why. Why does this work? And then maybe even more importantly, the practical how. How can you actually tune in to your body's signals, not just listen to, cultural habits or that little voice saying, finish everything. So this deep dive, it's really for anyone who's ever felt that awful post-meal slump, that food coma, and wondered, is there a better way, a more vibrant way to fuel my day? And maybe extend those years with energy, with vitality. Okay, so let's dive right into the heart of it, this Okinawan secret, Hara Hachi Bu. The core idea, it sounds almost too simple, right? Eat until you're 80% full. Now, for a lot of us, especially anyone who grew up in what I jokingly call the clean plate club, that sounds, well, unfinished, incomplete.
Exactly. It's totally counterintuitive if you were raised with that idea of polishing off every last scrap, which, let's be honest, was often taught with the best intentions, wasn't it? Don't waste food, show gratitude, make sure you're full.
Right. But in Okinawa, the goal isn't an empty plate. It's about recognizing and really respecting a specific internal feeling. And the crucial thing to grasp here is this isn't some fad diet, not a trend that comes and goes.
No, not at all. This is a centuries-old lifestyle. It's a philosophy, really, woven so deeply into their daily lives. Kids learn it from a super young age. It fosters this completely different relationship with food.
And the benefits they talk about, they go way beyond just, not feeling overly stuffed.
Oh, absolutely. They talk about having a sharper mind, more alertness throughout the day, and completely avoiding that food coma fog that hits so many of us after lunch, for instance.
Imagine that. Getting through an afternoon without feeling like you need a nap under your desk.
Right. That mental clarity, that ability to stay present and productive, they see it as a direct result of not overloading the system. It allows the brain to stay sharp. You're more engaged. It's really this holistic view of health.
Where eating isn't just fuel, it's directly tied to your mental state, your vitality.
Precisely. It's all connected.
And that connects perfectly to the biology, doesn't it? The actual reality of how our bodies signal fullness.
Yeah.
Because it's not instant. It's not like flipping a switch.
No, it's much slower than people think. There's a lag. It takes, on average, about 20 minutes. 20 minutes for your brain to really get the message, the satiety signals coming up from your stomach and your intestines.
20 minutes. Okay, think about that. By the time you feel definitively full, that can't eat another bite feeling, you've probably already gone past what your body actually needed, maybe significantly past it.
You almost certainly have. That inherent delay, that lagging indicator in our system, it's a huge factor in overconsumption in our modern world. We eat quickly, we're distracted, and we wait for that really strong stop signal, but that signal is delayed.
So we're reacting to old news, basically.
Pretty much, and that's where Hara Hachi Bu is so, well, ingenious. It's a proactive strategy. It encourages you to consciously stop eating before that 20-minute signal fully lands. It helps you preemptively avoid reaching that point of being truly overfull.
So you're anticipating the signal, not just waiting to react to it.
Exactly. It's this ancient wisdom passed down for generations that basically hacks a physiological loophole, a loophole that, in many modern food environments leads straight to chronic overeating.
It's amazing. Practical wisdom perfectly aligning with some pretty complex biology.
It really is a simple solution to a very modern problem.
Okay, so if Hara Hachi Bu is about aiming for that 80% mark, and our brain needs time to catch up, let's get into the nitty-gritty science. Why does stopping at 80% work so well? You call it a symphony of signals, right?
Yes, it's incredibly complex. And to really get it, we should probably define a couple of terms first, because they often get mixed up. There's satiation. That's the feeling of fullness you get during the meal itself. The signal's telling you, okay, maybe slow down now, or time to stop.
The immediate feeling.
Right. And then there's satiety. That's different. That's the feeling between meals. It's the inhibition of hunger that determines how long it'll be before you feel hungry again, and maybe how much you'll eat at that next meal.
Ah, okay. Satiation during, satiety between.
Makes sense.
And these two processes, they're distinct but totally interconnected. They're run by this constant, sophisticated conversation between your digestive system and your brain. It involves hormones, mechanical stretching, even the trillions of microbes in your gut.
Wow. Okay, let's start with the hormones. These sound like the chemical messengers running the show.
They're definitely key players. Think of it like an orchestra, as I said. Different instruments playing their parts. So first up, you have ghrelin, often called the hunger hormone.
Heard of that one? Yeah, it's mainly released from your stomach when it's empty. Its job is basically to tell your brain, hey, time to eat. It even makes food seem more appealing, more rewarding.
Okay, so ghrelin gets us started. What tells us to stop?
Well, once food starts arriving, other hormones jump in. Leptin is a big one, but it's more of a long-term signal. It's secreted mainly by your fat cells, your adipose tissue. It tells your brain about your overall energy stores and generally works to suppress hunger over time.
So leptin is like the background controller for energy balance.
Kind of, yeah. But for that meal-to-meal stopping signal, other hormones are really crucial as food moves into the small intestine. Take cholecystokinin, or CCK. It gets released pretty quickly when fats and proteins hit your small intestine. And it sends a strong stop-eating signal up to your brain via the vagus nerve. It acts fast.
Okay, CCK for fats and proteins. What about carbs?
Good question. For carbs, especially glucose, a key player is glucagon-like peptide 1, or GLP-1. It's released from specific cells, L cells, in the small intestine. GLP-1 is a powerhouse for reducing hunger. And interestingly, if your food digests more slowly, GLP-1 release can be sustained longer, helping you feel full for longer.
So slow digesting foods keep that I'm full signal going.
Exactly. And there are others too, hormones like peptide tyrosine, PYY, and neurotensin, and a few more. They all work together, this whole cascade from your gut, sending messages to your brain saying, all right, energy needs are being met, you can stop now.
It's an amazing chemical conversation. But you also mentioned mechanical cues, like the stomach actually stretching.
Yes, that's a really important and more immediate signal. Those are the mechanical cues. As your stomach physically stretches with food and liquid, there are specialized receptors in the stomach wall, stretch receptors. They send signals almost instantly up the vagus nerve to your hypothalamus in the brain.
So that's part of that initial feeling of, okay, starting to fill up.
Precisely. It's an early satiation signal. And then there's the gastric emptying rate. That's simply how quickly food moves out of your stomach and into the small intestine.
How does that affect fullness?
Well, if your stomach empties slower, the nutrients stay in contact with the intestinal lining for longer, which means those satiety hormones, like GLP-1 we just talked about, keep getting released for longer, prolonging that feeling of fullness.
Ah, I see. And you mentioned something about overweight individuals.
Yes, some studies suggest that individuals who are overweight might actually have faster gastric emptying rates, which could mean hunger returns sooner, potentially contributing to eating more because those fullness signals don't last as long.
Wow. So the actual physical mechanics matter a lot too.
They really do. Even how food breaks down and rearranges itself in the stomach influences absorption and those fullness feelings. It's all interconnected.
Okay, mind blown already.
Mm-hmm.
But now, yeah, the gut microbiome. Our gut bacteria are involved in how full we feel too. Seriously.
Yeah. Seriously. They're involved in so much, and yes, definitely in appetite regulation. It's an incredibly intricate relationship. Your gut bacteria communicate with those hormone-releasing cells in your gut, the enteroendocrine cells. A healthy, balanced gut microbiome seems to support proper signaling.
And an unbalanced one.
An imbalance, what scientists call dysbiosis, which can sometimes be triggered by things like chronic overeating or hyperphagia, can disrupt these signals. But the good news is we can influence this. Think about prebiotics.
Okay, I know prebiotics are food for the good bacteria, right? Like fiber.
Exactly. Specific types of fiber that feed your beneficial gut microbes. And studies show that consuming prebiotics can actually increase the expression of GLP-1. So by feeding the right bacteria, you encourage your body to make more of the hormones that say, I'm satisfied. They can even slow down how fast food moves through your gut.
That's like having little helpers inside, promoting mindful eating from the inside out.
It really is. And it gets even cooler. When these beneficial bacteria ferment the fibers we can't digest, they produce these amazing compounds called short-chain fatty acids, or SCFAs, like butyrate, acetate, and propionate.
Okay, SCFAs, what do they do for satiety?
Well, these SCFAs, especially propionate, can actually tell your intestinal cells to make more GLP-1 and PYY. So more good bacteria fermenting fiber leads to more SCFAs, which leads to more satiety hormones, which leads to feeling fuller and potentially eating less. Propionate also helps keep your gut lining healthy and plays a role in glucose balance. It's multitasking.
Amazing. Are specific bacteria linked to specific hormones?
There are definitely correlations emerging. For instance, some studies show that higher levels of beneficial bacteria like lactobacillus and bifidobacterium correlate negatively with ghrelin levels.
Meaning more good bugs, potentially less hunger hormone.
Potentially, yes.
Ah.
It's complex, and other bacteria show different relationships, but it points to this deep connection. There's also fascinating research looking into how the gut microbiome might influence leptin resistance.
That's when the brain stops listening to the I'm full signal from fat cells, right?
Mhm.
Common in obesity.
Exactly. An imbalanced gut might interfere with how the brain processes that leptin signal. So, optimizing your gut health through diet could potentially be a way to improve leptin sensitivity, glucose tolerance, and even reduce inflammation.
It just shows how incredibly connected everything is. What we eat feeds our microbes, which influence our hormones, which tell our brain how hungry we are.
It's a constant feedback loop.
Which brings us beautifully to the next level, the cellular deep dive. Caloric restriction and longevity. Because Hara Hachi Bu, this 80% rule, it's essentially a natural, sustainable form of caloric restriction, or CR.
That's exactly how scientists view it. CR isn't about starvation or malnutrition. It's simply reducing overall calorie intake below what you'd normally eat while still getting all the essential nutrients. It's mindful eating, not deprivation.
And the benefits at the cellular level are supposed to be pretty dramatic.
Profound is probably the right word. One of the most important processes CR triggers is autophagy.
Autophagy. Sounds like self-eating.
That's literally what it means. Think of it as your cell's internal recycling and cleanup crew. Autophagy is this vital process where cells break down and remove old, damaged, or unnecessary components like misfolded proteins or worn-out organelles.
So it's cellular housekeeping.
Exactly, deep cleaning. And when you consistently practice caloric restriction, even moderate restriction, it significantly ramps up this autophagy process. This cleanup is directly linked to slowing down aging, repairing cellular damage, and ultimately extending lifespan and health span. Your cells stay younger, more efficient.
Okay, that's huge. What are the molecular switches controlling this? I keep hearing about things like AMPK and sirtuins.
Yes, they are absolutely central to this. Let's start with AMPK. AMP-activated protein kinase. Think of AMPK as a master energy sensor inside your cells. When energy levels are low, like during CR or fasting, AMPK gets switched on.
And what does it do when it's switched on?
It does two main things that are key for longevity. First, it boosts the production of mitochondria, the cell's power plants, making energy production more efficient. Second, and crucially, AMPK inhibits another pathway called mTORC1. mTORC1 is all about growth and building.
So AMPK puts the brakes on growth.
Yes, and by inhibiting mTORC1, AMPK strongly promotes autophagy, that cleanup process. It shifts the cell from building mode to cleaning and maintenance mode. It's this switch that's so important for cellular rejuvenation.
Are there real-world examples of this?
Definitely. We see that AMPK-MTR signaling tends to decline with age in organs like the kidneys, but CR, or even drugs like metformin, can help reverse that decline. AMPK also helps cells defend themselves by boosting antioxidant enzymes. Studies in fruit flies show that activating AMPK can extend their lifespan directly through autophagy.
So AMPK is a key mediator linking lower energy intake to cellular cleanup and resilience. What about the sirtuins, the longevity proteins?
Right, the sirtuin families, especially sirtuin in mammals, these are another class of enzymes, but they work differently. They are NAD plus dependent deacetylases. Basically, they remove little chemical tags called acetyl groups from proteins, including histone.
Histones are the spools DNA wraps around, right? So sirtuins affect gene expression.
Exactly. By removing those tags, SIR21 influences which genes are turned on or off. And SIR21 is strongly linked to delaying aging and promoting longevity. Like AMPK, SIR21 is activated in low-energy states, partly because AMPK helps increase levels of NAD plus SIR2, which SIR21 needs to function. They actually work together. SIR21 can also activate AMPK.
A positive feedback loop for health.
You could see it that way. And importantly, SIR21 directly promotes autophagy, too, by activating specific autophagy-related proteins, like at G5, at G7, etc. We see this clearly in studies, for example, in mouse models of neurodegenerative diseases. CR increases SIR21 in the brain, which then improves pathology, reduces inflammation, and activates autophagy.
SIR21 is another major player connecting CR to cellular repair and longevity.
Absolutely. It's a critical part of the network.
It feels like CR, through things like AMPK and USRT1, is almost reprogramming our cells. Does it affect epigenetics too? Those changes on our DNA?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. This is a really exciting area. Epigenetic modifications like DNA methylation are chemical marks on the DNA that influence gene activity without changing the DNA sequence itself. Think of them as volume controls for genes. And these methylation patterns change as we age. It's considered a key biomarker of aging.
And CR affects this?
Yes. Studies show CR can protect against many of these age-related changes in DNA methylation. It seems to help maintain a more youthful methylation pattern. CR can even boost the activity of enzymes like DNMT1, which helps maintain methylation, potentially slowing down cellular aging. It affects methylation at specific important sites like those controlling ribosomal RNA production, and even seems to influence the memory of cells, helping them function better for longer.
So it's helping our cells remember how to be young, in a way.
That's a great way to put it. It's also influencing histone modifications, those acetyl tags SIR21 removes. Reducing certain histone acetylation levels is linked to longer lifespan in model organisms. SIR21 itself modifies histones, for example, helping to keep aging-related genes like P16 quieter for longer.
Okay, this cellular stuff is deep. Let's bring it back up a level to something very practical. Insulin sensitivity and blood sugar control. How does CR, and by extension, Hara Hachi Bu, impact that? You mentioned something called TXNIP.
Yes, TXNIP, thioredoxin interacting protein. This is a fascinating molecule. It acts as a brake, a negative regulator on insulin-stimulated glucose uptake. Basically, higher TXNIP makes it harder for your cells, especially muscle cells, to take in glucose even when insulin is knocking on the door.
So less TXNIP would mean better insulin sensitivity.
Exactly. And there was a really compelling study looking at this. Obese adults followed a CR program for 16 weeks, aiming for a 1,500 calorie deficit per day. The results were significant improvements in whole body insulin sensitivity. Their bodies got much better at clearing glucose from the blood.
And the TXNIP connection.
That was the key finding. The CR program led to a significant decrease in TXNIP levels, both mRNA and protein, in their skeletal muscle, especially after insulin stimulation. And crucially, the amount TXNIP decreased directly correlated with how much their glucose disposal improved.
Wow. So reducing TXNIP seems like a direct mechanism for CR's benefit on insulin sensitivity.
It really points that way. And what was particularly interesting in that study was that this improvement and the TXNIP reduction happened independently of changes in things like mitochondrial function or certain fat molecules often blamed for insulin resistance. It highlights TXNIP as a distinct pathway improved by CR. They also saw better metabolic flexibility. The body got better at burning fat when fasting again without major mitochondrial changes. It's complex, but TXNIP is clearly a very important piece.
Incredible. Just eating less, stopping at 80%, triggers these precise molecular benefits for metabolism. Okay, so the science is compelling, almost mind-blowing. The big question then becomes, how do we actually do this? How do we take this Okinawan wisdom backed by all this science and make it work in our busy modern lives?
That's the practical challenge, isn't it? But it's definitely doable. The first, most obvious step is simply serving smaller portions. Start with less on your plate. You don't necessarily need to count calories obsessively. Think visually.
Like the My Plate idea.
Exactly. The USDA My Plate is a great visual guide. Fill half your plate with fruits and vegetables, lots of color, a quarter with whole grains, a quarter with lean protein. Add some dairy or a plant-based alternative. This naturally shifts the focus towards nutrient density and portion control rather than just restriction. It sets you up to hit that 80% mark more easily.
And given that 20-minute delay for the fullness signals, slowing down seems absolutely non-negotiable.
Totally non-negotiable. If you inhale your food in 5 minutes, your brain just doesn't stand a chance of catching up. You'll blow past 80% without realizing it. Eating slowly gives your body the time it needs for that hormonal and mechanical feedback loop to work.
How do you actually practice eating slower? It sounds simple, but it can be hard.
Little tricks help. Put your fork down between bites. Actually chew your food properly. Take sips of water. If you're eating with others, engage in conversation that naturally slows you down. Try to really savor the food, the taste, the texture.
Maybe set a timer. Aim for at least 20 minutes per meal.
That can work. Or having a small salad or some water before the main course can help set a slower pace. It's about making conscious behavioral changes.
And for me, a huge part of slowing down is eliminating distractions. The phone, the TV. Eating becomes mindless otherwise.
Oh, 100%. Mindful eating means being present. Turning off the screens, putting away the work. It allows you to actually tune in, pay attention to the sensory experience of eating. Pay attention to your body's subtle signals of fullness starting to emerge. That's how you catch the 80% feeling.
Creating a specific space for eating probably helps too.
Definitely. A structured eating environment, like always eating at the dining table instead of your desk or the sofa, trains your brain. It signals, okay, this is mealtime, time to focus and be mindful. It fosters a more respectful relationship with food.
Okay, so how we eat is crucial. What about what we eat? Does the science give clues about foods that help us feel satisfied at that 80% mark?
Yes, absolutely. The composition of your food matters a lot. Let's start with just the physical food structure and texture. Solid foods, or more viscous, thicker foods, generally make you feel fuller for longer compared to liquids or thin foods.
Like a thick soup versus a clear broth, or an apple versus juice.
Exactly. The apple requires more oral processing time, more chewing. That sends more satiety signals. The physical form affects how long food stays in your stomach, how quickly nutrients are absorbed. Even the microstructure, like tiny details and emulsions, can impact fullness.
Fascinating. So the form matters. What about the macronutrients? Protein, carbs, fat. Who's the winner for satiety?
If you're looking for the satiety champion, it's definitely protein, hands down. Protein consistently outperforms fat and carbs in making you feel full and keeping you full.
Why is protein so effective?
Several reasons. It takes more energy to digest, thermogenesis. Amino acids directly signal satiety to the brain. And crucially, high-protein meals trigger a bigger release of those satiety hormones like GLP-1, PYY, and CCK, while also suppressing ghrelin, the hunger hormone.
So it hits multiple fullness pathways.
Pretty much. And different proteins work slightly differently. Whey is fast, casein is slow and prolongs fullness. But lean meats, fish, eggs, beans, lentils, dairy, they all contribute powerfully. Including a good protein source in each meal is a really smart strategy for hitting that 80% target naturally.
Okay, protein is king. What about carbohydrates? They get such mixed reviews.
Carbs are more nuanced. Satiety depends on the type. Complex carbs, like in whole grains and vegetables, take longer to digest. This means a slower, more steady release of glucose into your blood. That promotes sustained fullness.
So the glycemic index, GI, matters here.
Big time. Low GI foods generally lead to better, longer-lasting satiety compared to high GI foods. High GI foods, white bread, sugary stuff, give you that quick spike and crash, which can trigger hunger again sooner. So choosing lower GI, fiber-rich carbs is key.
And fats. They're energy-dense, so maybe super filling.
Fats play a dual role. They definitely provide strong short-term satiation. That richness makes a meal feel satisfying right away. This involves gut receptors and signals like OEA. But the long-term effect on overall calorie intake is more debated. Some research suggests very high-fat diets might actually blunt the gut's ability to sense fat over time, potentially leading to overeating. So healthy fats are great for satisfaction, but balance is key.
Got it. And finally, fiber. Everyone loves fiber. How does it boost satiety?
Fiber is fantastic. It adds bulk, literally filling you up. And it increases viscosity, thickens the food mix in your gut. Viscous soluble fibers like pectin in apples, beta-glucan in oats, psyllium are particularly good at this. They form gels, slow down stomach emptying, and keep you feeling full. Plus, many fibers are prebiotics, feeding those good gut bugs we talked about, further boosting satiety signals.
So loading up on fruits, veggies, whole grains, legumes, that fiber helps hit 80%.
Absolutely. Even simple things like adding a salad before your main course can significantly reduce the total calories you eat in that meal, partly thanks to the fiber in bulk.
Are there any other food compounds involved?
Briefly, yes. Certain bioactive compounds like caffeine, green tea catechins, even capsaicin from chili peppers might subtly delay hunger or slightly reduce intake. It's another link of complexity.
It's just incredible how many signals are involved. Hormones, nerves, stomach stretch, gut bugs, food texture, macronutrients. How on earth do scientists measure something as subjective as fullness?
It is tricky. They use a combination of methods. Subjective scales are common, like visual analog scales, VAS. Participants rate their hunger, fullness, desire to eat on a line. It gives a number, but it's still subjective.
Right, my 80% might be your 70%.
Exactly. Then there are tools like the satiety index, comparing foods to a standard like white bread, or the satiety quotient, trying to relate fullness to calories eaten. Alongside these, they use physiological measures, tracking changes in hormone levels, GLP-1, PYY, ghrelin in the blood, measuring gastric emptying speed.
But those sound complex and maybe expensive.
They are, and individual perception remains the biggest challenge. Standardizing these measures is tough. It's an ongoing area of research, trying to find better, more reliable ways to quantify satisfaction.
So wrapping this all up, what we've really seen today is how this simple, almost quiet Okinawan wisdom, Hara Hachi Bu, stopping at 80% full. It's not just some quaint cultural habit. It's this deeply insightful approach born from centuries of observation. And it finds stunning validation in cutting-edge science, right down to our cells, our genes, our hormones.
Absolutely. And if you zoom out, look at the bigger picture, this deep dive really underscores something crucial. Optimizing our health, maybe even our longevity, isn't just about what specific foods we eat. It's so much about how we eat. And maybe most importantly, when we choose to stop eating. It's about cultivating that internal awareness, respecting our body's signals.
Yeah, a huge departure from just following external rules like clean your plate or chasing the latest diet trend.
It's empowering, really, listening from within.
It really is. It's a compelling reminder, isn't it, that the path to maybe a sharper mind, a healthier metabolism, a longer, more vibrant life, it might just be found in that simple, mindful act of putting the fork down a little bit sooner and trusting our body to handle the rest, letting that ancient wisdom work its magic.